Hello, everyone. I just thought I'd start a bit early because I don't really know what I'm doing. So I just wanted to make sure that it worked, and it looks like it did. So I think you can, there's a chat box in the corner. You can type stuff in. And just see if this works. This may seem a bit strange, but it's all strange to me as well. Just want to see if it works. It does. Yeah. So, hey, Rich, how you doing? Yeah, cheers, thanks. Yes, you've got it. Yeah. How is the microphone level? Is that working okay? Yeah. Yeah, good. Okay, because I have got another microphone that I could set up if this one wasn't any good. But I use this webcam quite often because it's largely how I stay in touch with the university. So, but I've never done this before. So we won't get into things too soon because I just want to wait until we get a little bit closer to 11 o'clock. But so yeah, good. So tell me a little bit about what you've been up to, and if you haven't said hello in the box, please say hello, because otherwise I won't know that you're with me. Okay, that's great. That's great. Yeah, good. Okay. Right. Let's make sure I've got everything. Let's have a look. Now. Yeah, okay. No, so that's not going to work. Hello, Christine. How you doing? You don't need sanitizer to come, but yeah, I'm trying to figure out how I can get stuff up on the screen so I can put prayers. Prayers up on the screen, but let's have a look. No, don't seem to be able to do that. Never mind. Okay. So what's the time? We got 4 minutes. So is anybody else watching that hasn't said hello? So I know you're there. Okay. So what's everybody else been up to today? What have you managed to do? Have you been out for your walk? Have you seen anybody? Have you found anybody? Okay. Yeah, yoga seems to be quite popular this morning, I think. Must be the Thursday morning class. Yeah. Okay. So let's just see if I can get. Hello, Joanna. Yeah, you never know with these things. They sometimes they can work, sometimes they don't work. I thought I'd probably start a bit early just in case it all kind of went wrong, and then I would have a little bit more time to put it right before people turned up. But morning, Annette. Yeah. Well, this, in a sense, I think is if we do the Thursday morning webinar, it's kind of like our Celtic worship and coffee shop. That was the idea, that people would still be around on a Thursday morning. So as soon as we get to 11, I think we'll begin with the Lord's Prayer. So okay, hang on. Okay, so good. You're enjoying the time for crafts. Yeah, I mean, the thing is, the first week we were in lockdown, the garden was great because the sunshine and the weather was great. But the last few days, it's been a bit windy and it's been a bit cold. So I'm probably not as tough as most of you. So I kind of avoided the garden, but I did get an awful lot done last week. So things have turned out quite well. Okay. So we've got, I will try and figure out how I get things put up on the screen so everybody can see them, but can't manage to do that at the moment. So let's begin. Let's pray. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen. So, I thought we'd probably start with just an introduction to. We're not going to go through morning prayer, but I just thought, you may be looking for resources for morning prayer, and the book that is generally used is this one. I've kind of worn this out a bit, but this is the Common Worship Daily Prayer. I find this is very helpful. Most of us these days have moved over to apps. Okay, so there are resources out there. There's things like this. You can get a abbreviated short morning and evening prayer. You can get that. You can, if you're keen, you can get a 3-volume set. I got these given. And the good thing about those is you do tend to get lots of stuff in the Church Fathers and things like that. So there are resources out there as simple or as complicated as you want it. And of course, the Celtic morning prayers as well. I mean, there's so much stuff out there. But actually, I think what I'm just trying to sort of make you aware is that there are resources there. And actually, in the time that we're in, which we'll get onto that in a minute, it's important to set aside time to pray and to continue with the routine of the spiritual life, and to keep tapping into the life of the Spirit. So there's that. So you may have all been wondering what I've been doing. Well, I think like most of the clergy, I'm kind of trying to cope without a congregation, and it's all moving online, and I'm sure that, you know, we all find this really sort of odd, but I'm always open to, you know, things bear fruit in the long run. And sometimes out of odd times like these, very often good things emerge that we don't yet sort of see or understand. But it is a little bit strange not actually going to church, taking a service, meeting people, and, you know, that kind of routine of being around a building. That's kind of strange. And I had hoped to have taken a service in the church every week in all of the churches. I was very keen to start with that we should continue with the pattern of worship, but things change every day, and they're still changing now. And so we find ourselves today in a very different place than we did last week, and we will see where it goes. We don't yet know when the end is in sight. I think we'll probably know a bit more around the middle of April. But the signs are that we could be in some sort of lockdown until July, and but we'll see. In terms of coping with, I'm not going to call it isolation. I'm going to call it solitude, because to be isolated is to be completely sort of separated. I do realize there are some people out there that probably are feeling isolated. But I think this is an opportunity in some sense to sort of reflect and think about, well, lots of things. But I'm not, I'm keeping my sort of spirits up. So I've spent quite a lot of time reading. As you know, I'm still carrying on with my studies, and the good thing is it looks like that I will be looking to finish this year rather than next year, and I hope to do that and save myself some money. But you know, I probably won't get the parade with a floppy hat and the gown and all that kind of stuff, which is fine. So I'm in a rush really to sort of get that finished. I've only got about another 8,000 words to write. Sounds a lot, but actually it shouldn't take me too long. So I should be all done and dusted and edited by the end of May, and I should be submitting in June, and then it'll probably be an online Viva. I don't know. But as long as I get done before the beginning of July, I can graduate and move on. So that's what I've been spending a lot of time doing. The other thing is, I don't know about you, but I kind of find that sometimes because you've got more time, you don't actually get more done. And you kind of you don't utilize the time as much as you can. And so, but I think that's a common thing. So anyway, if you'd like to type in, tell me a little bit more about what you've been doing, or if you've got any questions or anything that you'd like to ask. While you're doing that, I just want to look at recommend a couple of books if you're looking for stuff to read. This is always a favorite. It's quite old now, but this is always a favorite of mine, especially around Easter. Yeah, it's back to front. But it is Craig Evans, and Tom Wright, and it's Jesus, the Final Days. So it's not a new book, but I always recommend it, and it's always a good read at Easter. Very good. So and it's not too big either. That's one. Another book that I recommend is another one, Craig Evans, Jesus and His World. That's about the archaeology. So if you're looking for reads, that's quite good. Another one is this one. Yeah, and it's by Brant Pitre, I think that's his name, and it's Jesus and the Jewish Roots of the Eucharist. So that's a good book as well. So those are the books that I'll be rereading around this time. Anna says she's pleased about my news and always the current situation, looking on the upside. Yeah, well, I did sort of go out for a walk with the dog yesterday, and I thought, well, what are the markers of a declining mental health? And I thought, well, if I feel the urge to watch Watership Down again, then that's probably the sign things are not looking very good. And if you've seen it, don't watch it again. And if you've not seen it, please don't. I watched it when I was young, and I still never got over it. So, yeah. So, yeah, it's a strange world. It's a bizarre thing, and just to go out yesterday, I went out and sort of put posters up and things. And I did plan to have a study day all day yesterday, but I just couldn't stay in the house any longer. I just needed to get out, and I think as we go on, it's going to get harder and harder to actually stay in, because you know. Yeah. So Liz is saying that the phone box in Burghill Village is likely to be a sort of exchange place. You've got to be careful about this, obviously, hygiene wise. But a place where we can drop off books and maybe DVDs and stuff, and all try and keep ourselves occupied. The one providential thing that happened to me this year was, for Lent, I gave up drink, which has been a really good thing, because a bald clergyman with a shelf of drink isn't probably a good thing. But I've been very good. So yeah, but I've been watching films. Although there's only so many films you can watch, and there's only so much telly you can watch. Yeah. Oh, what book's that then, Anna? Come on, tell us what book it is. Pure Coincidence. Oh, wow. Philip Yancey. Yeah, the first book I ever read with Philip Yancey was It was the Jesus I Never Knew, and I lent it to somebody and I never got it back, which is a shame because it was a great book. But it was one of those books I read and managed to kind of remember. So so I've always found his books really good. What's So Amazing About Grace? I bought that. That's very good. But I did think the Philip Yancey, the Jesus I Never Knew, was really good. Yeah, and maybe I'll buy it again. I don't know. Oh right, okay, okay. The coincidence, right? Okay, yeah. So, is anybody else not typed and said hello? Okay. Well, while you're doing that, Palm Sunday. Now, this what? Right. Okay. I did intend to go live last week. The reason I'm looking down in the corner is because the camera's up there and I can't look. I have to look at the screen. I was going to go live last week with the Sunday service. The only problem is if I go live, can't do anything with the service. And I've actually bought a professional mic, which you'll see. It's on the top of my new tripod. And I've got this editing tool that I can make videos now. And the good thing is I can put the prayers, the liturgy on the screen, so people can use that. If I do it live, I don't know how to do it. Like, you can put prayers on this when it's live, but I don't know how to do that. Yeah. So the reason it's not live is because I'll be able to put the liturgy on the screen, so you won't need any books. So anybody that just clicks on will be able to follow the service and that. I have lots of palm crosses. Now I'm a little bit nervous about this, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to bless the palm crosses, and I'm going to leave them around the villages for people to collect and take as a sign of hope and of a sign of a future that God guarantees. So today I'm going to bless the palms. I'm also going to do a mock procession from the church, and start putting together the Sunday service, which won't be a Eucharist service. I could do a Eucharist in the house, but I'd rather do it in church. However, next week I've got hey Jeff. I've got a bonfire that I've built, and I'm going to get the candle and everything, and we're going to have, hopefully if the weather's nice, we're going to have an Easter Day Eucharist in the garden. And so I don't know if that will be live, but there will be an Easter Eucharist. I can't just bear the thought of not having a Eucharist on Easter Day. That's that's the impulse, really. But I do think that actually there has been some talk there's been some talk about postponing Easter and having Easter in May, but I can't see us coming out of this in May. So I think we're going to have Easter in lockdown. But I do think that once the once the restrictions have lifted, then we should have a big joint service, big party, ring the bells, you know, bells and whistles, and just do something, because I think by then we'll all be in need of being part of getting back together again. So, hi George. I need George. George can come and show me how to do the things that I don't know how to do. So you might regret saying hello, George. Yeah. So we are, you know, trying to think of ways to do things differently, but it's all a bit strange. So you won't be laughing, George, but I can still phone, you know. Yeah. Are you coping, George, with little children? Yeah, good. Mine are all. The good thing about mine is they've got to an age where they can entertain themselves. Although we are falling over each other a little bit, but at least we do have a garden, which is a real lifesaver. Oh, there's Mary. Hi, Mary. Yeah. So yeah. What else was I going to say? Oh, yes. With a 2-year-old mod. Yeah. Little children, they need the input and the energy, definitely. Okay. Right. Is anybody else out there? Anybody not said hello yet? No. Okay. So, Sharon bought me a gift the other day. The Man with Two Brains. It's a good film. She works in the charity shop, so we tend to get all the old films. We're always looking for things to watch. So what's this? Daddy Coming. Yeah. Well then, George. Okay. So what's everybody else? What else have? How's people? How are you all coping with the rules and with the isolation? Yeah. Has anybody signed up for anything and started doing anything? I've started delivering the meals on a Tuesday, which is really good, really interesting, and you know, it's moment, you know, it's looking to feel kind of useful. I think one of the things that we can probably slip into is feeling useless. And actually, I don't know about you, but I'm not somebody who's particularly blessed with the virtue of patience, as you probably know. But I in these moments we we have to learn how to be a bit more patient and learn what it means to wait. Mary's you did online yoga. You won't get that here. Oh, well, that's always good. Yeah. Joanna's just saying she found new footpaths. I think we're allowed to drive to places and walk. So one of the walks that I quite like to do is, now I might say this wrong, Bagnage Wood. So I've never been up there. And every time I go up there just to have a look, I can never see kind of how you get into it, you know. So I've been to sort of Audrey's place and Santa's place around there, but I can't, you know, I don't know where the path that leads me into the place. So if anybody knows how you get into the wood without actually running across somebody's garden, then that would be good. Because the dog needs to get out as much as anybody else. But oh, hang on, let's have a look. Yeah. I think that's right. You know, George is just saying that yeah, social, but that's true, isn't it? Social media and of, you know, look at Facebook, you know, it connects us all, but actually, and I often find that in emails as well. You send emails, and then when you read them back, you think, oh, I sounded a bit hard there. But actually, it's because you can't convey the nuances that come in conversation in texts. So that's always a struggle to sort of balance that. So yeah, I mean, people are connecting on social media and have done. The interesting thing is Facebook was largely in decline. I think before this hit, which for me kind of indicated that online connection isn't actually, you know, cutting the grass when it comes to the need to connect with people. There's nothing like meeting people face to face. And Anna's just saying we're not supposed to be driving to our walks. Oh, okay, right. So I won't be going there. I could walk there, but it would take me about half an hour, I suppose. Right. Okay. I thought we're okay to drive and to go for walks, but okay. I'll take your word for it, because you probably know more about the rules than I do. Morning, Pat. Let us rejoice and be glad in it. Yeah, definitely. Oh, so Mary, you've signed up. Yeah, you said that. Yeah, signed up for the NHS volunteer. Everything. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So, since we're in the mood for a little bit more, let's just, if I scroll down. Okay. So the psalm today is Psalm 40. Interestingly enough, the Old Testament reading from Exodus is God raining down hailstorms in Egypt. So, but I think we are quite familiar with what it means to be sort of, at the moment anyway, sort of afflicted and housebound. But Psalm 40 was this morning's psalm, and I'll read it because actually it sort of ties into the sermon that I gave online on Sunday. So Psalm 40 says, I waited patiently for the Lord. He inclined to me and heard my cry. He brought me out of the roaring pit out of the mire and clay, and he set my feet upon a rock and made my footing sure. He has put a new song in my mouth, a song of praise to our God. Many shall see and fear and put their trust in the Lord. Blessed is the one who trusts in the Lord, who does not turn to the proud that follow a lie. I thought that was particularly good reading this morning. And the one thing that's amazing about the Psalms is they're so old, but always new. It is as if they're ageless in their context. In a sense, I mean, there's lots of things that history's changed, but there really are great prayers from the heart. And so Psalm 40. Look at Psalm 40 today. I found it very useful this morning. So what else has everybody else been up to? This is the point where I'm tempted to tell you about Augustine, but I shall resist and spare you, because at the moment that's kind of what my head is full of, amongst other things. Yeah, hang on a minute. Oh, yeah, the Psalms. I ordered these ages ago, and we'll do something with them. She'll drop them around, unless I get told otherwise, and I'm not allowed to. It's quite likely. Okay, so I've got more. I've got more. I've got bags of them. But yeah, I always find them good. To put in the window or something like that. When the kids were small, if they were scared, I used to put palm cross in their window, so that if they got scared in the night, they could always look at the cross and know everything's going to be okay. Yeah. Right. Now we're only. Ooh. Yeah. But I always used to carry. Remember in the cathedral, they used to sell those little hand crosses. Yeah, do you remember those? Those little wooden crosses. And this little trick. The clergy used to buy lots of them because what you used to do, you put it in your pocket. And so when you're confronted with difficult situations or situations that you pray, you put your hand in your pocket and you hold on to the cross. And it was little tricks like that you could do just to sort of steady yourself and keep your mind on what God was wanting you to do in a situation rather than what you wanted to do. So the sort of little olive wood crosses. There's one. Yeah, so I've got loads of these. They're dotted around all over the place, and you can just sort of hold them, and you can hold them in your pocket as well. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. They're not cheap, actually. I used to buy them for people as well, like confirmations, things like that. I used to buy them. Yeah. Oh, talking about confirmations, we have some coming up this year. I think we've got about 4 or 5, or a few more maybe. So that'll be hopefully still going on. That's the 1st of November. That'll be a big a big do, and so I look forward to that. And that'll be my first confirmation service since I've come, and hopefully we can get some numbers, good numbers. And I know we've got about five or six signed up already, so we need to sort of focus on that. That'll be on the 1st. That'll be at St Mary Magdalene's, Stretton Suggers, and it is actually on All Saints Day. Love confirmations on All Saints. It's for me, it's kind of the favorite day for All Saints. Music wise, what's everybody been listening to? Yeah, you've been into I discovered something on iTunes just to sort of change tack, is that I noticed that some of my music was disappearing, but there's a thing you can go onto which tells you all of the music you've ever downloaded, and you'll be surprised how much of the music that you've downloaded isn't in your library. Now, for those of you of iTunes, you probably know all this. This is just something I discovered, and I found loads of music that I hadn't listened to for ages. So what I discovered the other day was now this shows my age slightly. My Kate Bush album. Remember Kate Bush? Yep. Well, you're following a choir and listening to Kate Bush. Okay, right. Let me write that one down, George, and I'll. Graves into Gardens. Okay. Rich is playing his guitar every day. Wow. Hey, I've got a guitarist as well. Luke, my 14-year-old, is taking up the guitar, and with gusto. So in the last 3 months, he's been playing his guitar and this one, and so his bedroom's become like a music studio, and so he's on it for hours and hours and hours, and he's getting quite good. So yeah, he's quite good. What he doesn't know is that when he gets really good, I've got a job for him. If he's watching this, he already knows. Yeah. I would like to. I did think about buying a banjo, but I think it might just be one of those fads that I never do. So I will see. Okay. Is anybody else from anywhere else? Anybody watching that's not said hello? Because unless you type something in, I don't know you're here. But what I'll try and do just before anything else happens is just to say that I'll try and do this. I'll do this every week. I don't think we can do it another way where people can appear on video, but I don't know. Geraldine is listening. Hello, Geraldine. How you doing? Yeah. All right. Yeah. Good. Thank God for gardens. That's all I say. Because we all need to. Well, I don't know about you, but just to get outside. I thought I'd cope really well with this because actually I really enjoy my own company. But actually, I think it's because we're told we can't go out. It's a bit like saying to somebody, "Oh, you can have whatever you want, but don't touch that." It's it's the story of Adam and Eve, isn't it? It's you can have you've got paradise, but there's one thing in paradise that you can't have, and the only thing that they can think about is not the paradise they've got. It's the one thing they've been told they can't. And so I think there's a little bit of that about this, in the sense that because we feel that we're being told that we are restricted, that it kind of makes staying in even harder, because we want to kind of get out, I think. Yeah. Oh, so yoga class on Zoom. Yeah, the thing is we could do Zoom. Yeah, but I've done Zoom this week, and the only thing is it's not as good as you think, because it all sort of clicks in and out, and it gets a little bit sort of a bit chaotic. So oh right, okay, you're off to a Zoom prayer meeting at 12. Oh, well, good for you. Okay. Yeah, I think when people start trying to compete, then it all goes a bit. But which is probably why for meetings it's a little bit strange. Okay. Yeah. Well. Yes. Yes. But that's always a tricky thing. So 10 days, Easter. It's all a bit quick and a bit scary. And actually, I'm not on my own in thinking that it's just all so strange. And let's have a look. No, never mind. Okay. Okay, yeah. That's just another really important point, is there's so much information. I mean, I've been here over 18 months. Won't be long before it's 2 years. But you all know everybody's addresses and phone numbers and emails, all far more than I do. So just to encourage you all to make sure that you keep in touch, or if you'd like to forward me on details. I know that's tricky under GDPR, but just to encourage you all really to stay in touch with people and help them. I have thought about. I mean, some people have posted stuff out, but I think the advice is against that generally. So it's tricky to sort of try and find out what we can do, what we should do, and obviously what we can't do. So it's all a bit strange. And the one thing that I just want to say is the magazine for Burghill is in the certain drop-off places. So if you know somebody who would like one, and you get them one and drop the magazine off. We will be printing a magazine again for May, but we'll see what it looks like. try and sort of focus it upon entertainment and keeping people kind of with things to do. So this is the first of the webinars, and so next time, or has anybody got any questions? Anything you'd like to ask? Yeah, I love questions. Okay. No. Okay. Right. You won't be any surprise to most of you that the weddings have largely, up until July, been cancelled, and baptisms are emergencies only. Anna says she wants some Augustine next time. How do we give our offering? Now, God, in his wisdom, encouraged me fiercely to get everybody signed up to the parish giving scheme. So if you're signed up to the parish giving scheme, then your offering will already come. However, if you're not signed up to the parish giving scheme, this may be a good opportunity to do so. But if you don't want to, that's fine. What you can do is, if you like to offer something, you can write a check and send it to David. No, send it to Max, or send it to me. That's probably, just send it to me, and I'll send it on if you like to do that. Yeah, that brings us on to actually a bit of a tricky topic, really, because the baptisms and the weddings and the services and everything's just kind of, the whole country has stopped, and we will pick up the pieces of everything when we begin to get back to normal, whenever that is and whatever that looks like. So it's all a little bit on hold. I don't think, but yeah, the people I really sort of feel for at this time are those. It's been 1 million people signed up to, is it universal credit in the last few days? 1 million. So that's, unbelievable, the the crisis that's out there. So we've got our bills to pay, but there are bigger problems in the world at the moment, and the money's oh, that's a really good quote from, thank you, George. Yeah, the worst thing that could happen is we come out of this exactly the same. Yeah, I that's I'm going to use that. That's really good. And it does happen, it's a bit like the banking crisis, and the deregulation of banking, and then it all collapsed. And actually, the sort of inside track is there's not a great deal that's changed, and that's a worry, because if things don't change, then having said that, I don't believe in change for change's sake, and change isn't necessarily good. It only holds the possibility of a good that comes out of it, a good change. So I think we have to be careful about what we mean by change. But I do take the point that actually we should come out of everything. a little bit more victorious over our former selves. That great quote from Kingsman, isn't it? True nobility is victory over one's former self. And I really like that, because actually the whole purpose of the Christian life is to transform the world, but it begins with us, you know, specks and planks, you know, casting stones. And actually the way that the world has changed is by changing ourselves. And you know, it's a bit like you know, in the opening phrase of we get onto Augustine in the Confessions, where he says, "Oh Lord, you've made us for yourself, and our hearts are restless until they rest in thee." And what he's basically saying is our life only becomes fruitful when it rests under the light of God's love. And I mean, to that, I am a total witness. Far from perfect, but far from where I was when he found me, I would say. So, yeah. So change, origin. I mean, being conformed by the Spirit. I think that's what we offer ourselves into. So what does Liz say? Yeah, that's right. You know, when it comes to money, we're all, you know, we're all going to suffer, and that's just the way the world is. We're all in the same boat, and we're all in the same situation, and many are worse off than us. And actually, the most important thing in the world is people, and making sure everybody else is all right first. People before profits. I'm a big believer. So there you go. Yeah. So you know, we'll do the best we can, the same as everybody else. But our sense of perspective on our financial situation as well. It's not the most important thing in the world, though it is important. But we do the best we can with what we've got. Okay. Any other questions, or does anybody want to share anything? It's a bit strange. It seems like, you know, well, I'm sort of doing all the talking, but that's probably usual. Don't say anything. What's that, Jeff? There's loads of stuff on YouTube that I find really interesting. There's a lot of it that's a bit rubbish. There's a guy that I really like, and his name is Ryan Reeves, and he's a professor of historical theology, and he does all sorts of, and they're detailed, but they're not stuffy. They're really accessible, and the way he presents them is he's really good. Ryan Reeves, anyone Ryan Reeves is really good. I think his name is Ryan Reeves. Sure it is. And he does lots of stuff on all sorts of history that I really like watching his stuff. Yeah, but I would recommend stuff, but it all depends on what you're interested in, I suppose. And yeah. Now, what I thought I would do, or I might do next week, or at some point, is give a talk, actually on a Thursday morning, I could do this, on the history of the Bible. Now, would that be something that people would be interested in, or would you prefer something else? Have you, or could you suggest another topic? I mean, there's all sorts of things that we could do. There's all sorts of things that I've read it and interested in. But I did think about maybe we could talk about that, history of the Bible. Or we could talk about something a little bit more sort of centered on Easter. We could talk about the resurrection and history. You know, what we know about the history of the resurrection, which is what I did my first dissertation on. Because actually in popular culture, you know, people sort of, when they listen to the story of the resurrection, they just think that it's they put it in the sort of category of you know, it's kind of Hilary Mantel kind of stuff, you know, it's sort of novelized history. Or and actually there's a lot more to it than just seeing it as some sort of fairy story. Not that Hilary Mantel's is fairy story, but it's kind of not very good actually, but you know, that kind of stuff. Yeah, so next week, I mean, to this week really is the introduction, is just to see if this works and to sort of start the conversation really. But we could have a set topic, and what I'll do is I'll prepare a set topic and then a general chat afterwards. We could do that. But if you could sort of post now what it is you'd like to know more about, let me know. Rich, what's that? The Bible, right? Okay. Okay. What's that? Triptych? Am I being a bit dull? Okay, so we could do the Bible. I could give you, hang on. A talk on this. Now you might recognize this. This is one I made for me. And it's the one in church is based on this, but it's the one in church is bigger, obviously, and it's done much better. But this was the kind of proto icon, so we could talk about the icon, and or we could talk about the Bible. Okay, right. So we could talk about the. Should we talk about the icon? Because we could talk about the Bible, but the thing is next week we're in Holy Week, and it's a little bit more sort of incarnational. Big word, I know. But it's Maundy Thursday. Yeah, okay. So actually, Anna's correct. Thank you, Anna, for being my other brain. Yeah, it's Maundy Thursday. So I tell you what we could do is we could park the icon idea, we could park the Bible idea, and we could talk about the Last Supper, which is Maundy Thursday. So maybe I will give a little talk about the Last Supper and why it's so significant, because it's the last thing that Jesus gives his disciples before he enters into his passion. And it is the meal that encapsulates everything that comes afterwards. So it's a very specific event. And yeah, so we could do that. Thank you, Anna. Right, so next week we'll do an introduction, and I'll see if I can figure out how to put prayers on the screen live. Not sure I know how to do that, but I'll see if I can find out. And we'll have a session on, we'll have introduction, and then we'll have a talk on the Last Supper. Now, since I've mentioned that, Jesus and the Jewish Roots of the Eucharist is a good book. So if you want something to read between now and then, that's a good book. There is this is another book, The Eucharist. That's written by my current supervisor. It's quite controversial, but he is. So that's The Eucharist, Origins and Contemporary Understandings. That's by Tom O'Loughlin. That's quite good, but it's quite complex. Well, I wouldn't say it's quite complex, but it's you know, it's an academic kind of read. Yeah, I mean, I think that's it. There's another book that I've got which is called Why Sacraments. That's quite an interesting read. Actually, this is a good course that I did, and this is by Tim Keller, who's a Presbyterian minister in America. Almost everything that he writes is really good. Excellent. And this is the course that I did once, but there's a book and it's called The Prodigal God, and it's all about how the meal and God's abundant giving. You know, it's all about the nature of God and all that kind of stuff. But it's really accessible. Prodigal God, that's a really good book. I have got the book somewhere, but it's amazing how many books I can't find anymore. I know I've read them, but they've disappeared somewhere, or I've lent them to people and they've not come back, or whatever. Yeah. Okay. Well, I think our hour is up anyway, Anna. So it's not to say that it has to be an hour, but I thought an hour is probably a good time. So we've come to the end of our first one, and so far I think nothing went wrong, I hope. So I feel a bit more confident about next week, and so we'll see how we go. But next week we'll do the Last Supper, Maundy Thursday. Okay. So I just want to give you a blessing before we depart. Okay. So the peace of God, which passes all understanding, keep your hearts and minds in the knowledge and love of God and of his Son, Jesus Christ, our Lord. The blessing of God Almighty, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit be upon you now and remain with you always. Amen.